Hello, everybody, and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43, and tonight we are taking our first look at the new Azure Lane Zara Commander. I think this one has quite a bit of potential for those of us who actually enjoy the Italian cruisers. I don't have the Brindisi yet. Can't wait to actually get my hands on it. But you guys know, if you've watched my Path 2 series on my Italian cruisers, the rolling smoke screens and the SAP has completely transformed this line into a very enjoyable line. It fits with my super aggressive play style. You guys know how it is. So let's get straight into the commander and what makes it so good. So first of all, we're running Nikolai Kuznetsov and Francesco Mambelli as our inspirations. We are running Audacious Challenger as our base trait, obviously, which gives us extra SAP shell damage, which is huge. We are running Beyond Range in Ardui Intrepida. I apologize to all the... I don't know. Maybe an Arduous Intrepida. That sounds a little bit more Latin, doesn't it? The first one, I don't know why it sounded French to me. I don't know. So, I don't know. I apologize to the Italians out there. But anyway, it means that you damage from the main cruiser battery guns while firing them within 5 seconds after reload is increased by 6%. So, if you're continuously cycling your guns, you can get up to an 8% bonus for every salvo you fire. As long as every time you fire, you're within 5 seconds of your reload. That's kind of cracked, if you think about it, because a lot of times cruisers are just firing immediately, and these things have a long reload, so you're always going to be able to try to get yourself into positions to continuously cycle these guns. But anyway, we're also running Fortified for a little bit more hit points and reduction in incoming damage. That'll come in handy a little bit. Cruiser, and then Fixated, obviously. Cruiser main battery shell grouping is increased, and then main battery dispersion also increased. You could go steer clear here, but I think you want as many shells on target as possible. And the Italian cruisers are very accurate, so getting as many shells as possible is definitely going to come in real handy. But we are running fully packed rather than refill station. Refill station at the level that I have this commander is not worth it. Now, maybe as I rank up the commander, maybe this will be a little bit better. But as for right now, this only amounts to a 0.5 second reload increase, and you lose the ability to do this. So I would much rather have the extra consumable charge for now. So anyway, that's the build. We are, of course, running the SAP, if you guys don't know. Actually, do you even get to choose now? Yes, you do get to choose. So as you can see, in the final slot, we are running the Artillery 203-55 Model 1934 SAP upgrade. So, highly recommend, if you are running Italian cruisers, do not use the HE. Switch to the SAP immediately and learn to use it effectively. Takes a little bit of getting used to, but once you figure out where you need to hit on a ship with these cruisers with their SAP, usually superstructure, sometimes upper side plating, bow side plating, stern side plating, that sort of thing. But generally speaking, you want to be aiming high, going up for the deck line and superstructure area on the ships to get the most out of this SAP. And it is disgusting when you start getting those shots. It does suffer a little bit from saturation, so you'll have to get a feel for it. But do not be afraid to use the AP on these ships. The AP is very, very good. We'll showcase how good the AP is, as well as the weakness of the AP as well, as we get into the fight. But with that being said, that's really all I wanted to go over with this ship. So let's get straight into the gameplay. Alrighty, so we're going to be on Shatter, we're in the Amalfi, and we are running the Zara Commander. And this is probably one of the worst case scenarios that you could ask for an Italian cruiser. Italian cruisers need room to operate. They don't mind operating in, like, up close and personal when you need to, but when you're forced into those situations, because you're on a tiny map, you really got to be careful. And so, best case scenario here, we just got to play to our strengths. What is our strengths? Our strengths are ambush tactics, guys. Ambushing. It's a thing. Try it once in a while. So we are going to go out here, and the first thing we're going to do is drop some zoning torpedoes through the gap, just in case, because you never know. You're going to miss all the shots you don't take, right? These are slow torpedoes. And what I'm hoping is that we can catch somebody off guard, especially a lumbering battleship that may be heading to Charlie, you know? So we are actually, I would highly recommend when you first start out, loading up AP and being ready. I wasn't expecting to spot the enemy Suja here, but we do get the rear turret around the island just in time with some SAP. So first shot out, only a couple of shells managed to make it through, but we hit one shell for 1,700 damage. That ain't bad. That ain't bad. Think about that. That's better than a lot of battleships do. With an overpin, you know what I'm saying? So essentially I just overpinned him with an Iowa. Actually better than an Iowa, because that'd be 1,410 instead of 1,710. So you can kind of get an idea of what kind of damage you're doing with the SAP if you get a penetration. Now here I prematurely hit my smoke. Probably should have waited just a teensy bit longer. This is just not being used to the ship. That's all this is. But you can see I do have my smoke screen here. Again, I thought these smokes went a little bit longer, but they actually end pretty quickly. But look at this first shot against this Iowa, dude. 11,000 damage against the Iowa. And that's what I'm talking about with learning how to position these shots. Now you can see he's slowing down, so we're going to aim a little bit further back. This one, unfortunately, come on, is not going to get as much. You can see we only hit one shell. The rest of them hit armor. And that's the thing that you got to watch. You got to try not to hit the armor. Now, obviously, what is about to happen next showcases the strengths and the weakness of this ship. The strength being it's got insane concealment, and you can build it for even more concealment if you want. I mean, if you throw another like concealment perk on this, you'll be able to do some things. Now here, I'm trying to anticipate what the enemy battleships are going to do by going with what I would do in this situation. I would, if I were them, try to go bow in. Now here's where I make a mistake. I fire my guns at the Georgia. Alright? I get some decent damage, and then I turn in, or turn away, but this is actually turning in, raising the Citadel, and he catches me coming out of my turn getting greedy. I miscounted his ability to turn his guns, and I paid the price. Fortunately, we lived to tell the tale, which is a big deal. Remember that reduced damage we talked about? Yeah, probably coming in handy there a little bit. But yeah, we dropped the first set of torpedoes. They're looking okay, but not amazing. We dropped the second set of torpedoes roughly in the same similar sort of area. We're going to try to use the island for cover, and you can see this is where I'm talking about ambushing. Utilizing terrain to your advantage. Iowa is the one spotting us currently, which is dangerous because between the Iowa and the Georgia, somebody's probably going to take a shot at us. And so, fortunately for us, we do go dark here, and we get to shoot over the top of the island here. Now, Georgia does dodge the initial salvo of torpedoes, but remember, we got the other side off as well, and they're slow, so nobody expects them. And that is the strength of these torpedoes. They may be the slowest freaking torpedoes on the planet, but if you just throw them out there, dangle them out there like little worms for the fish. This Hawk got absolutely murdered. I'm assuming he went broadside and got just yeeted for it, as you'd expect. But we catch the Iowa here, and we actually get a permaflood temporarily. I know that sounds stupid to say permaflood temporarily, but he will eventually get a damage con, so it's not going to be as good of a flood as we could have gotten. But here you can see we do spot the Suja, and I really want to shoot the Suja. I'm not going to lie. We don't have our smoke back yet, and shooting with two battleships that are very angry at us, not ideal. Especially when the battleship that was next to us is dead. So here, we're going to utilize the other strength of the ship. We already talked about its concealment. Using this thing as a destroyer, man. spot for your team. You don't always have to fire, but we noticed that the eye was very low, so we take the shot over the island trying to finish him off, utilizing our smoke to break contact immediately so that we can finish off the Iowa and then break contact and not have to worry about any repercussions. So here, Georgia's kind of piddle-farting around, so we take the shot. Now, the Georgia and the Suja actually do the right thing here, and they start to back off. I thought they were going to be more aggressive, and once again, you can see my torpedoes were aimed for if they were to continue around the island. That's where I was expecting these guys to go, and unfortunately, that ain't what they did. They just threw it in reverse. Our battleships that are over here at the island, they are going to start pushing forward. So we're going to double back and try to utilize that island once again. There's no reason for us to run. We recognize that the enemy is backing off, so now we need to push and get pressure on these guys and work for those crossfires. Crossfires work for cruisers just as well as battleships, and it's actually easier for a cruiser to set up a crossfire than it is a battleship, because I can do it without being spotted. Now you can see my teammates are doing a pretty good job of softening up the Georgia, so they're going to continue getting shot at. And I am just kind of like waiting for my opportunities. You can see here I'm checking how long my torpedo range is. Again, in familiarity with ships. Try to learn your ships. Play your ships to the best you can. Here you can see, I see Suja sitting here over-angled as crap, and like I've said, this thing has great armor piercing, so if I can get a good shot into the Suja at this angle, there is no doubt in my mind I can citadel it. But we got to hit just right, and trying to figure out what he's trying to do is a little bit difficult. I'm expecting him to go forward, so we aim a little further forward. He's just kind of creeping. He doesn't know what he wants to do. We take the shot, and we are going to catch him through the cheek and get a citadel, but not as much damage as I would like. But that was 7,000 damage. Can't really complain about it. That's going to force him into overreacting. Our teammates are going to be able to help capitalize. We take another shot at him, and look at this. Now our teammates are spotting for us, and we get to utilize this island for blind firing. You love to see it, right? They can't shoot us, we can shoot them. Now, obviously, with their planes up, there is a chance that they spot us here. But Suja's going to start going forward. We take another shot, and then we're just going to go ahead and mirror what he's doing here. Another good chunk for 3,400, and the next shot, as he's turning, you see the island here. We got another window of opportunity coming up. He gets blapped by the battleship. We aim the shot a little high because we know he's going to try to turn out. And we end up hitting him again, but we leave him with just enough to get away. The one shell that hit him citadeled him, but not enough to finish him off, unfortunately. But that doesn't matter. The battleships will finish him off, no problem. And that just leaves the Georgia. Now, if you're in this situation in the Georgia, you're in trouble. You know that all you can do is reverse around the corner, try to hope these guys are dumb enough to come to you. Unfortunately for this Georgia, I am dumb enough to come to him, but for a whole different reason. I still have a smoke screen left, folks, and I have my plane. Now, why is the Amalfi so important? What makes the Amalfi so much better than other smoke screen ships? It's because it has the plane. It can spot for itself as it pushes in with that smoke screen. So now I get to be completely invisible. You can see I am switching back over to AP here because I'm expecting to be able to potentially citadel this Georgia at this range. We aim for him to reverse because we know that he's getting pushed from the front, so if he's going to do anything, it's likely to reverse. We come around the corner, the plane should spot him here, and we're going to shoot for center of ship, and this is the thickest part of his armor, and shocker, 5 shatters. So that shows you everything you need to know about these. Very good armor piercing, but not quite enough to get through the belt armor of a battleship. So from here, what we want to do is aim further back, go through the rear, try to avoid the belt armor, and then we get a much better result, but still not quite. We still hit his belt. We shrug off most of the damage. This thing does have very good belt armor, as most Italian cruisers do. Torpedoes are on their way. Are they going to hit? Of course they are. 2 torpedoes land home, no problem. Actually, 3 torpedoes land home, no problem. And we finish him off by aiming a little bit higher than the belt armor, getting the rest of the damage we needed to finish him. So, not a bad showing for the Amalfi. And again, it shows the strengths and the weaknesses of the ship. I do like this commander. You guys know what I'm talking about with the SAP. Anything you can do to strengthen the SAP of the Italians is going to come in handy. Because they have nerfed these ships heavily coming from PC, which is unfortunate because I think the Italians deserve to have a little bit of fun, right? Why is it that the Italians just don't get to have a lot of fun in this game? I don't understand it. I will maintain until the day I die that somebody at Wargaming for the console development team does not like Italians. Somebody. I don't know what it is. You guys blame me. I call it as I see it. Somebody out there doesn't like the Italians because they have nerfed the Italians from day one on all steps and just fought us tooth and nail to try to make Italians useful. Don't believe me? Go back and watch all my videos on Italians early on. Like, it was awful. But slowly over time, they have added more and more features to make the Italian ships relevant. And personally, the battleships are a meme. I prefer, if you're going to use a battleship, get the tier 8 and legendary tier. Obviously, Cristoforo Colombo's fantastic. The Lepanto's fantastic. But everything before that is sus at best. So prepare for a grind. But the cruisers, on the other hand, are a lot of fun currently. And that was shown in the Path 2 series. And if you guys are ever wanting to know information, especially like specific information on ships, check out my Path 2 series, guys. I got a playlist on darn near every line in the game. Obviously not the destroyers because people stopped watching after a while. But, you know, I know that people come to my channel for the battleships, so we try to make sure we got a Path 2 for all of the battleships lines, most of the cruiser lines as well. Only a few cruiser lines have been left out, but with that being said, I thoroughly enjoy the Italian cruisers, and I think that once you learn how to be picky with your aggression, like if you can be very selective with your aggression and utilize those rolling smokes and that ambush and the planes to spot for you, the amount of potential that these ships have is probably second to none, because nobody can get into the positions these ships can and ambush the way these ships can. They just don't. And I personally find these very, very fun. It's riding on the edge of destruction, okay? You gotta balance that aggression. You gotta figure out, you gotta time your turns just right to deflect those shells off the belt. We've proven it. If you watch the Path 2s, that shot against the Georgia there at the end where we flip in and only take a short amount of damage from him, that's what we're talking about. You got to close that angle. Show them the armor, right? Just be like, oh, look at me, you can Citadel me again. And then just close the door on them at the last second and bounce most of the rounds. But here we've got the anchorage, and we're going to try to lead this guy. Don't quite lead him enough, I don't think. We end up hitting a little bit further back. But we do get a couple of hits just past this Citadel, unfortunately. And we're going to try to close the distance. But unfortunately, our teammates have all been in pretty decent position to counter this anchorage here at the end. Him getting into the base pretty much sealed his fate. Now, I understand why he did it. Tried to get a little bit of extra XP. That's fine, whatever. But unfortunately for him, that was the signal that our entire team needed to figure out where he's at. Because we had no idea where he was going to be. But as soon as he jumped in the base, we're like, all right, I know exactly where he's at now. And so everybody just kind of converged on him from all directions. And I was waiting a little bit too long here for him to open the angle. He does take a Citadel, unfortunately. We take another shot, and then the ship to my right ends up taking the rest of his health, and we only get 300 to finish him off. But overall, I feel like this was a pretty good showcase of the the new commander. It's a solid commander. Getting that extra SAP is going to be nice. And other than that, I mean, it's the Amalfi, and Amalfi's fantastic. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. And if you like what I'm doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And as always, I will see you in the next video.